hockey's going to be gone. Basketball's going to be gone. We have mini camp gone. We got like 6 weeks of like Ocean City and concerts and Billy Joel and fun around here and trying to figure out how we're going to make Baltimore positive, even more positive. Tell you what, Bill, I'm having crab cakes at Fadley's this week, so it's not a bad week, right?
Yeah, I think it's amusing that, like we've already, school's not over, but we've already transitioned to like school and my kids are staying up way too late and the sun doesn't go down and, it's kind of sleepy. There's not a lot going on. Half the world's already run away and half the world's still here, but it's always good to visit with you for a little bit.
Well, I know why they're not returning my phone call. They're at the beach.
Talk about.
Yeah. I mean,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
On the sports front, the Ravens, do you sense more excitement about them this summer? I do. I'm sensing more like in the last couple of years because there's true intrigue about them that in a week in minicamp you go out there and see them kicking around. I tell you this, I needed a scorecard to figure out who's whom, you know what I mean? We're at that point where there's been so much transition that they start the season 3-1, we fall in love with them, right? But knowing who the players are, I'm interested in football all of a sudden here in June for some reason.
Yeah, you're closer to it than I am, so I can appreciate that, and I guess that is a foreshadowing of the ripple effect that I'll start to see. I'm not really having any Raven-related excited conversations with anyone at this point. It still feels like it's months away in my world.
Well, it is. I mean, come on, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, you're not watching the Orioles, right? I mean, the basketball's almost over. Hockey feels like it's been over. Golf, they're playing majors at Pebble Beach, so we'll get some nice aerial shots this week and all that. But from a sports perspective, if you're a sports guy, and you are and I am, there has been a little bit of a lull, and certainly for our body clocks with the Orioles to not ever really want to put them on. Like I'm not trying to be the village jerk here, but there's nothing for me to see on a Tuesday night when they're playing the Blue Jays in June, especially when it's 85 degrees out and I can be at Pizza John's with my son or at Icy Delights or with my family or, as you point out, with your family staying up late and the sun's up late. The Orioles were always a part of that. This summer, that is missing from my life, and I don't know, it kind of feels good. I'm kind of exhaling and breathing and saying, what else can I do with my spring and my summer? Because the Orioles kind of sort of don't exist for me this summer.
To put it in perspective, I think on a number of occasions I have elected yard work over watching the Oriole game. So that's pretty bad. That's pretty sad state of affairs. But, the yard looks pretty good. So that's a benefit.
Are you worried about them leaving? I know we haven't talked about this much, and Marty Conway's been abroad for a while, and I'm going to, circle back on this, but it is a TikTok thing, right? Like, we started this up a year ago, and then it was the off season. Now we're halfway through another season, and we're up on 24 months on the end of this lease, and there has been zero conversation. We had Don Fry from the Greater Baltimore Committee on the way out of Fadley's last week. He said to me, I'm worried about that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we got a lot of things in it. We're worried about squeegee boys. We're worried about riots. We're worried about kids on dirt bikes. We're worried about jobs. We're worried about the business. We're worried about the Bay. We're worried about the harbor. We're worried about crime. We're worried about education. We're worried about all of this, right? But losing the baseball team, I remember when that would have really, really rocked the headlines around here. Just the notion that we're going to discuss that would have been a big deal. I don't know who the leadership part of stepping up and talking to John Angelos. He wanted no part of talking to me at the Preakness a couple weeks ago. At what point does he get in a room with Larry Hogan and start to talk about this? Because I would think that he's going to want something.
Yeah, so I would initially be very concerned over it for all the reasons you said. Like the fact that it's completely quiet makes me concerned that this will go without conversation far enough where you pass the point of return and, we have no way of competing with a bid from Las Vegas or Nashville or wherever. But what I have
Wow, you really believe that's a hell of an admission, Bill Cole. Say that again. We have no way of competing to keep our wife of 70 years, the Orioles, away from Nashville or Las Vegas financially. We couldn't. Now, keep in mind, when we stole the Ravens, right, we had the biggest, best deal on the market. Someone was going to take our deal, according to John Moog, whether it was Arizona, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati. Somebody was going to take our deal. the Orioles are now in a place, and our city is now in a place where we could never recruit a baseball team here or a football team in the current political, financial environment of 2019, that if we had to go steal another team, we would not have the bigger, better deal.
Well, so I would say that you can make an economic case, but if you just show me the sort of marketing and brand associations that would come with that, you have to spend 2 years changing the conversation around the city to make it exciting for someone to want to move their team here. With the Orioles, all you have to do is like motivate them not to change, and I think you get some sort of hometown discount, and there's some other stuff in play there. But what I found fascinating is that when this comes up in conversation, the fans are absolutely like just devastated that this is even a topic. And the energy and excitement that comes from beginning that conversation, it's like, okay, if someone in leadership would just turn the faucet on and everyone would start talking about it, I think very quickly the Orioles would realize how important it is. The state and the city would realize how important it is, and everyone would move it up the priority list of things to get done. But no one's talking about it, so I don't know that they feel it's that high of a priority. I mean, think about
They
it.
can't fathom the team leaving, right? Like they don't really remember 1984 and Bob Ursay. Maybe they haven't been paying attention to the empty stadium. Maybe they haven't been paying attention to who this family is. Fighting with the city, fighting with the state, fighting about State Center, fighting with the Nationals, fighting over Rosecroft, fighting with. They fight with everyone when it comes time to talk about this team and its stability and its future and the businesses and why Cole Roofing doesn't have a box there and why WNST doesn't own 4 club seats to an Oriole game. That really is the big picture, that they've scared off business here as much as they've made Bill not want to bring his wife and his kids to the ballpark this week as a fan, but as a business owner, as a citizen, as someone to step up and say, the Orioles, they're our team. They're not our team. Brady Anderson cursed at me and let me know that Mr. Angelos owns the team. That the Baltimore people, the fans, don't own the team. Mr. Angelos owns the team. Well, we're 25 months, 26 months away now from having to do a deal, with the state, a real deal for the next 20 or 30 years of the Orioles. And to your point, if you're John Angelos and you already live in Nashville anyway, and this is the place where your dad was disparaged by that bastard in Dundalk who had that little radio station that nobody listened to but everybody heard, and the walkout on dad, and what those creeps at Major League Baseball did by putting that team in D.C., and, we just can't compete in Baltimore. We're going to have to move, At what point is the Angelos family going to step up and start talking about that and start talking about whatever their demands are? Because if I don't know what they want, I can't give them what they want. And I say that to my son and my wife and anybody. If I don't know what you want, how do I give it to you? We don't even know what they want at this point. But from every conversation and what the Atlanta Braves have gotten and what other people have gotten and the deal that the Orioles and the Ravens have about what one gets, the other gets because of the state building and funding these stadiums 30 years ago. We're in a whole new place here about what the Orioles are going to become, other than they're our team and they're the Orioles and they're Baltimore's team. And they're not Baltimore's team. They're the Angelos family's team. They're actually Major League Baseball's team, actually.
Yeah, I think if it was me, I would be talking in quiet with these other cities to find out what they're offering before I go on record as to my demands. You do have other teams that have stayed, and you've got sort of what they got as a bar. But yeah, I mean, find out what everyone's offering, and then come back to the one that has the most to lose by not retaining you, and say, look, Vegas is telling me this. Like you got to give me this, or you got to get me close, or otherwise we're just going to go to Vegas. The other thing that's going on is there's definitely a personal disassociation with the fact that, like, me and my family never go. And
me and my family never go. My wife has 10 Red Sox hats, 3 Red Sox jerseys. The Red Sox are here this weekend. And the last thing in the world that she would want to do is go up and sit in that empty ballpark. And I live 2 blocks away. That's where we are as a family, and how they've shat upon me and my family and my audience for 20 years. I mean, I don't feel any burning need or desire to give them my money, and certainly not my time when they're tanking. You know, I'm working on fixing the city, but I do see people go down there, and I saw a bunch of friends of mine on Tuesday night sitting there in a lonely stadium with the Toronto Blue Jays, because it is a rite of passage. It is a place your kids want to go. You do have a closet full of Orioles stuff, but when it comes down to what's the deal in Vegas and what's the deal in Nashville, the deal is the companies that live there and work there and breathe there are going to be the ones lined up like we were in 1996 when the football team here to give Baltimore the ball. The real answer is it's not about what the state's going to give me for a deal with the stadium. Who's going to be in the stadium? Who's going to fill the skyboxes? Who's going to buy the media? Because nobody in Baltimore's, I mean, Henry Rosenberg's not coming back, you know? Maryland National Bank and Frank Brett, they're not coming back. You know, they need to make friends with people at the Preakness instead of having their girlfriends sneer at me across the racetrack, and we're going to lose the race next year. So, you know, all of these things that are happening with the baseball team, there's no proactive motion forward from a business standpoint, you know? I mean, you own Call Roofing. You employ 100 people. You're on roofs all over the city. When's the last time they called and made a say? You're an accelerant and they're an accelerant. When have they come to you and said, Bill, can you buy a season book for your – when have they even asked for your support other than we're the effing Orioles? It says Baltimore on it. You got to support it. We're your team. Like it or not, you know? I mean, that's what we've heard for 30 years.
There are some good guys in corporate sales who are trying to do things. But, you know, when your product isn't all that attractive, it's kind of hard to jump out of bed and be excited about selling it. What my question to you is, there's a clear disassociation with, you know, the consequences of me and my family or me and my business not going. I don't feel any consequence other than I didn't go.
Well, what's the consequence of losing the team?
How did I use that time otherwise?
Well, we should ask ourselves, what's the consequence of losing the team? Because you don't go anymore and I don't go anymore, and I know it's there. But if it's gone, if the Orioles are really gone 3 summers from now, it would be 3 summers from now, if they're really gone and playing in Nashville, what is the long tail of that for our city that Camden Yards would sit empty in the middle of downtown Baltimore? And anybody that would laugh at me, because 5 years ago they were, hey, Nasty, we ain't no way we're going to lose the Orioles. Ain't no way. They're Baltimore's team. They ain't going to let that happen. Governor Hogan ain't going to let that happen. Well, well, now we're 24 months out. You tell me who's going to save the team. Who's going to stop John Angelos from doing this if he wants to? And who's going to, and Peter Angelos?
So you're telling me that my job as a interested citizen, right, is I need to buy tickets to an Oriole game that I don't want to go to because I'm worried that they're going to leave. That it no longer.
I'm not saying that makes sense. I'm just saying that's all we have.
Yeah.
Literally, they're going to want me to take my Free the Birds hat, which I have over here, and start doing Save the Birds. We're going to save the Orioles. We got to go give them our money because we can't lose them, and they've been such good corporate citizens. They've just been Johnny on the spot with all important things like shutting the stadium and playing a baseball game for no one when tanks were going by. They've been such good, solid corporate citizens, like how they treated the IRL people. And, you know, they've always been great with the media. Yeah, they haven't done that either. You know, I'm wondering what their corporate citizenship is, and I've asked that out loud for 25 years. I mean, that's what Free the Birds was all about 13 years ago when they took my media pass for telling the truth. Now, it's my job to open the microphone and say, please don't go. Don't leave us. I don't know what the law. I don't want them to leave. I don't want them to own the team. I don't want them in last place. I don't want them to lie like they've been doing for 25 years. I don't want them to raise ticket prices. You know, there's a million things I want them to do that they've never done, but this whole rebuild has come at a very, very precarious time in the future of the city, in the politics of the city, and where the Angelos family is going to hand this franchise from dad to the kids, allegedly, and what these kids are going to want their legacy to be. They don't even live here. They're not even here.
I don't. I think you can get an answer to this, but talk to your people in the know and find out what is the real likelihood that you can go through an owner change at the same time that you're attempting to renegotiate your lease, and that all that can get done inside of 24 months. Because
with incredibly litigious people who have been entangled with their own charter and their own regional partners for 14 years in a way that no sports this side of Al Davis in the last 100 years, no one has ever as viciously sued their partners and the entire charter the way the Angelos family has done that to Major League Baseball. And that's just a fact. I mean, you can look that up. That's not me just speaking out of side of my mouth. The Major League Baseball people hate the Angeloses. You know what I mean? Like there is an absolute war going on, and where it ends up, I haven't been able to figure out a lawyer that can tell me that. They can't even figure out how to divvy up the money that they've basically were gifted 13 years ago. I mean, Major League Baseball gave them $1 billion to put that team in D.C., literally gave them the money and the franchise over the last 14 years. And what good has that done? It's been welfare for them. What has that done for the city? What has that done for the franchise? What has that done for the brand? Nothing. But they got all the money. Now what they're going to do with it, and they're going to cry poor, which is the worst part. After watching them take a $220 million entity that did not exist in 2005 and squeeze $220 million out of 7 states' cable television bills for 14 years now. So do the math on that, dude. 14 years and $200 million a year, in excess of $200 million a year. And that's $3 trillion, right? No, $3 billion. I'm sorry, billion. $3 billion that they have gone through here in the last, 15 years, and they're going to cry poor because the stadium's empty and they aren't making money as a baseball operation. They're losing money. There's no doubt about that.
If people are unwilling to go, then the capitalistic, the commerce portion of what is the baseball team isn't really positive. So
fair enough.
Like, the world shifts, things change. If no one's going and they go away, there's a whole bunch of nostalgia that gets their feelings hurt, Like, I can't believe our team is leaving. Yeah, but you weren't going anyway.
How old were you in 84? You're like a lot younger than me in that way, right? Like, you were a little... Oh, my God. So you were a baby when the Colts moved. I was a teenager, so I read the papers, and it mattered a lot to me and my dad. So this notion that you can't comprehend it, that, you know what I mean? You can't get your arms around, well, it's Camden Yards. They could never leave. No one will let them leave. Football and baseball, they won't let them leave. There's none of that. I mean, in 1984, we really believed there was like this eminent domain and some lawyer was going to save us and the cops were going to pull the Mayflowers over on 7. You know what I mean? Like, there was some belief that it was impossible for them to leave. Right. I don't think anybody would look at the Orioles as a concern right now if you are sober and look at this and say there's no way they could leave in 2 years. There's every way in the world they could leave in 2 years.
Right. I don't think anybody – I think that's why people get so excited when you bring up the topic, because they do realize that it is not hard to do. I mean, you see it happen all the time now. So I don't understand. I realize how impactful the Colts were to the community. As you explained, I mean, I didn't really experience it as a, thinking young adult.
Well, the fact that you have to be 50 or 55 years of age, right? You have to have silver in your hair to have any thought about the Colts leaving and what it felt like when that happened, the emptiness of that. You know what I mean? And look,
is it the same? That's my question. Like, is it the same? Right? Because there's so many more media options, and people are making so many different decisions today than you were back when all you had was the Colts and the Orioles. Like, people aren't going to the Oriole games. I mean, were people not going to the Colts games?
Yes, that's correct. No one was going to Colts games. Because they thought the owner was a jerk, because he was, and he went out in front of the fans every day. Dude, he landed a helicopter in Jacksonville in 1979, threatening to move the team, right? Literally. In 1980 and 81 and 82 and 83, they were awful and had the number one pick in 83. And, well, it turned out great 12 years later when Governor Schaefer used all his political capital and, threatened the Redskins, and we're not going to build roads into Laurel. And lo and behold, every time you drive through downtown, there's this big purple thing shining, at the foot of the city, right?
I mean, is Camden Yards a marketable commodity?
Could we steal the Tampa Rays and bring them here to watch baseball that no one wanted to watch when the other team was here? That had Brooks Robinson and Eddie Murray signing autographs on the club level and in Cal out in front of a statue? I don't know. I mean,
right.
Look, St. Louis went and stole the Rams and lost them again, right? So, and they have a blimp sitting in the middle of St. Louis that's empty. Other than when maybe a roofing convention there. Bill Cole's here, Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. Tell everybody what you do when the sun is shining, because I actually had a friend talking about solar and having solar panels put on their home in Arizona. And literally, you think, well, the sun shines more there, but I don't listen to what the president has to say and certainly don't believe in his science. The sun shines all the time, and I know you've looked to the future. You talk about the future of the Orioles. The future of solar and what you're doing is what you sell every day, right?
Yeah, I mean, we took a 100-year-old commercial roofing company that has shown the ability to do commercial roofs in a very efficient, effective manner. And then if we're going to do the roof right, that gives us the ability to use it as a platform for something else. So we started down that path with plants and managing stormwater in green roofs, and then it evolved into doing solar on top of roofs, and then solar on top of roofs turns into solar on the ground or solar in canopies and all kinds of stuff. But, we spend a lot of time we're still at this stage where people need to be educated and they need to understand. Some still believe it's a little bit of black magic, but it really is quite simple, and all the returns are understood, and we can explain it in very simple terms, how much it costs and how quickly you'll make your money back, and then how much money you'll make over time. And it's just a way to cut the umbilical cord to BGE or your local utility or whoever it is and give you the power and freedom to generate your own electricity.
I love how you tell me the sun comes up every day, and when that stops happening, we should worry about that. You can find Cole Roofing at ColeRoofing.com and everything that they do there. Of course, Bill gives me some civic therapy. Look, I wasn't going to go through the Orioles thing with you, but if there was a time to go to the game, this would be it, right? The Red Sox are in town this weekend. They're giving away this hat, this Star Wars thing, this gnome, this bobblehead, this Eddie Murray thing. Brooks is taking pictures with people, all of that, and I can't muster it up. I am thinking about going and seeing the Padres 2 weeks from now if somebody gives me a free ticket on Tuesday or Wednesday because the Padres are in. But that would be the only date I have circled in the calendar that maybe I'll go to the ballpark 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll end up down there just from
oh, you will? Okay, so you're
sort of like a business networking scenario.
There'll be
right?
a night.
Like
okay, all right.
A good group of guys that really just want to talk and not pay any attention to baseball. Like,
invite me that night. I'll go that night.
That'll happen. Yeah. But other than that, there's not a lot of motivation on my side.
Well, we've talked all week. I had Ben Lindbergh on about, and the one thing you and I don't, we talk about the business of the team and the franchise and the goofs that own the team and what's going to happen. And but then there's the baseball side of all this, where I had Ben Lindbergh on this week talking about how the game has changed. The Orioles, I don't know, Bill, I don't know how much you pay attention. They are going to break the record for giving up home runs this year. They're going to shatter the record. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to give up 50 to 75 more home runs than any team has ever given up, right?
Wow.
And the weather hasn't even gotten warm yet, like, as you know. So they are on an outrageous sort of Barry Bonds. They're on steroids when it comes to giving up home runs as a team.
Well,
so that's happening, and the game is changing.
If it's all about the long ball, that should improve attendance for visiting teams to come to Baltimore or when we're in other cities.
Especially
with
chicks,
think everybody
right?
should be there.
Because chicks love the long ball. We know that.
Right,
we saw that in the commercial. I would say this, though. The notion that baseball as a sport is not struggling, that is the underneath the veneer, right? Underneath of it, the termites that are eating the game are the nerds that are analyticing this game into being something that is not exciting anymore. You know what I mean? Like the product of baseball, by most eyes, most people who've watched baseball think that this is a worst version, a lesser version of the product because of the lack of action, the strikeout home run thing, guys aren't on base, no one's stealing bases, no one's hitting running. Like all of those things that made baseball an action sport have gone away. And they're very worried about that. So, I mean, I'm talking about that in addition to the Orioles and the brand and the city and coming downtown and squeegee boys and the mayor and the harbor and safety and all of those concerns. But beyond that, once you get to the ballpark, do people like baseball as it's being played right now? And I would tell you that across the board, that's a real issue for the sport that they're trying to get. I had an argument this week about the infield fly rule, right? Like the reason they put the infield fly rule in is so that when first and second happen and a pop-up happened, it wouldn't end the inning, that you wouldn't have an automatic triple play. Like they instituted that rule. It doesn't make any sense. It should be a benefit to the defense. You know, you get two guys on, you were stupid enough to pop out. You know, it's like hitting a dribbler to third base. If you hit into a triple play, you do. But baseball decided that's not good for the game. You know, that the ball goes up in the air, we're just going to call it an out and have first and second instead of a triple play in the end of the inning, right? And now they're trying to figure out what to do with the mound, the height, the fences. They can't even figure out how to put netting up to protect your son from taking a line drive off his skull at first base. So, you know?
When are we going to go to the robot umpires? Like, how far away do you think we are from that?
I don't know. I mean, that's a hell of a question. I mean, we're measuring everything else with a chip,
He's
right?
blocking the view. I can't see. You know, like that's the real problem. I mean, we're already we can already track the pitch. We already know whether it's really a strike or not, and it's sort of embarrassing when they show you like on TV when the ball was clearly in the strike zone and the guy called it a ball, or it was clearly out of the strike zone and the guy called it a strike. So, got to kind of resolve that issue, I think, a little bit.
I'm just trying to figure out what pass interference is. That's what I'm trying to do. Bill Cole is here. Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy, fixing roofs, saving lives, keeping us dry, keeping us safe, and you know. I had my roof blow off last year, Bill, so I respect you.
Right.
Hey, man, appreciate the time and the therapy, and I promise I won't bother you with baseball next week. We'll talk about fixing the city, but it was a good week to do baseball, though. All right, there he goes, Bill Cole, Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. Find him on a roof near you. You can just go to Cole Roofing. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook. Baltimore Positive. Moving back to State Fair with C. Fraser Smith on Thursday and next week, the 20th. Mayor Jack Young joins us at Fadley's in Lexington Market on the 20th. We're looking forward to that. Big time. Got 4th of July around the corner. I got Heritage Fair. We got concerts. We got Billy Joel coming for my mom's 100th birthday. All the excitement out on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat. Everywhere we go, the buyatoyota.com audio vault has all of our baseball and football conversations this week. Luke's been doing double duty from Toronto and Boston to Owings Mills and Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh, and a mini camp week. It's a good sports week around here. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.